Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Sky U Pod off-season edition, your college huddle Golden Gopher football podcast. As always, Max and Curdy are joining me today. Fellas, how we doing this off-season? We're inching closer to kickoff against Buffalo, and I think we got some exciting news tonight for our fans and listeners.
Doing
Yeah,
good.
I think. Geez, now I can't remember. It's like 87 or 79. I know those are two very different numbers, but that's how far away we are from college football,
Wow.
Gopher football being back. And I don't remember which one, but it's one of the two. And we're just here to fill the time in the off season, but everything's going good. Looking forward to this episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we do have a treat for all you listening here. Kind of a loaded episode, but I think all exciting. And we'll talk about kind of the landscape of college football here. But first, as always, let's start with some news. The Gophers held their first two summer splash recruiting visits for a ton of top recruiting targets and got some nice to the class of 2026. So first we have Matali Benjamin. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names here, but he's a 6'6", 305-pound tackle from Lehigh, Utah. Benjamin picked Minnesota over more than 15 offers, including Nebraska, Utah, Oklahoma State, and Washington. The three-star prospect from Lehigh High School is the second commit from Utah, ninth ranked state prospect, by the way. Uncharted territory for the Gophers recruiting. And Benjamin is the 51st ranked tackle nationally in the 24/7 Sports Composite. He had other visits planned with Nebraska, Arkansas, and Utah. So a big get for the Gophers. Next, we have Daniel McMorris, a 6'5", 255-pound tackle as well from Norman, Oklahoma. McMorris chose the Gophers over more than 20 offers, including those from Wisconsin, Kansas State, Iowa State, Stanford, and Oregon State. Minnesota offered McMorris a scholarship last October, and he made an unofficial visit to the campus in April. The three-star prospect out of Norman, Oklahoma, North High School was scheduled to visit Kansas State and ISU. He's the sixth ranked player in Oklahoma and the 40th ranked tackle nationally via 24/7 Sport Composite. Next, we have a linebacker from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Angel Luciano III. He's a 6'3", 225-pound linebacker. Luciano took Minnesota over other Big Ten competitors, including Michigan State, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Maryland, as well as Cincinnati and Virginia Tech. He is the 36th ranked player in Pennsylvania and the 100th ranked linebacker nationally. He received an offer from the Gophers in January. He made an unofficial visit to campus in April. He was planning to visit the Spartans and the Bearcats soon. And the three-star recruit out of Steelton High Spire High School near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is the second linebacker in the 2026 class, joining Hudson Dunn of Peoria, Arizona. Three more here. Next, we have Aiden H, 6'4", 220-pound edge rusher. And this one excites me, fellas. From Lafayette, Indiana. He verbally committed to Northern Illinois, but decommitted and flipped his commitment to the Gophers. He's the 14th ranked player in Indiana and the 85th ranked edge rusher nationally, according to 24/7 Sports. The three-star defensive end who played at Jefferson High School in Lafayette, Indiana, with a 6'7" wingspan, pledged to Minnesota before scheduled visits to Iowa, Kentucky, Purdue, and Michigan State later in June. Next, we have another edge rusher from McDonald, Pennsylvania, Anthony Charles, a 6'5", 200-pound guy. He picked the Gophers over offers from Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Michigan State, just beating all those Big Ten opponents. He's a three-star recruit from South Fayette Township High School in McDonald, Pennsylvania. He's ranked 22nd among Pennsylvania recruit and 64th nationally at his position. His wingspan measured almost 7 feet. Charles had visits scheduled with the Badgers and Nittany Lions in Toledo before committing to the U while on campus this weekend. And finally, we have Chance Payne. a 5'10", 175-pound cornerback from Jefferson, Georgia. You picked the Gophers over Wake Forest, Appalachian State, Navy, and Troy. Chance is a three-star recruit out of Georgia, is ranked 111th player in Georgia and 92nd nationally at the position. He committed a day after the weekend of the visit. With these commits, fellas, the Gophers now have the 18th ranked class in all of college football. Uh, that's pretty exciting, fellas. What do you think about these recruits?
I'm pretty excited, and I know the naysayers will say it's early. There's a lot of time for stuff to change, which is absolutely true. But if you take a look at the offensive line commits in particular, we're at 4 offensive line commits already, and their composite scores, depending on where you look, but I believe if you take the average score of all of the recruiting sites, average them out, all 4 of them, our offensive tackle commits, are all in the top 50 nationally for their position. And you're looking at the Gophers who usually finish in that 40th to 50th range for recruiting total. So to get 4 of them right now that are all in the top 50, I'm very excited. And when you add that with the pieces that are already here at the offensive line, in the offensive line room that are young, the offensive line group is looking very promising. And it's given me like, I don't know, I'm picturing the Mason days where we just bowled people over and ran for 300 yards a game. And yeah, I'm excited for that group.
Yeah, we have a type. Mammoth offensive linemen and long defensive ends. So we
Yeah.
got, I feel like we have a 6'5" with a much longer wingspan minimum. It seems like you look at all these recruits and it's worked. A lot of the defensive ends we've had. I mean, let's look at Jaw Joyner, like just a long, bendy defensive end who's got some speed. So it's nice that we're sticking with the formula, I guess, if it's working.
Yeah.
And now 2 linebackers in the class that are of athletic nature. They're not just, they don't project to be just big bulky kids
Cloggers.
that fill, exactly, cloggers that just fill the gap. They got some athletic promise to them, I should say. So something I've been very vocal about recruiting. And I know they've been recruiting athletic guys, don't get me wrong, but it's just not enough.
You know what?
And I feel like the last 2 recruiting cycles between last year and now so far this year, it's been an emphasis. So very excited about that. Now we just got to get some interior D linemen. I think that's the next big get. And there's some big players left out there, which we'll get to here. But
Yeah.
You don't want more cloggers, Kurt?
well, let's just say this. We haven't had a problem finding the cloggers in the linebacking room. I'll say that. Those are plenty here. So
Yeah. Well, you know what else we got? Is we have the number 2 and number 3 players in state in the 20, what would it be, 26 class
6.
now
Yeah.
committed. So
Yeah. And go ahead, Spencer. I didn't want to cut you up. Were you going to add anything to this current list of commits that we got?
No, I'm excited. I like the edge rushers. I feel like we need to, of everything, I love our offensive line. I feel like that we've always kind of reloaded there, but I really want to go back to the Jerry Kill days where we just had a stud defensive line. Not to say it's been improving definitely under the PJ
Yeah.
Fleck era, but I don't know if it's really reached that peak yet of what it was with, Rashid Hagman, and I'm already forgetting his name. We had our
Steven
draft,
Richardson.
Steven Richardson, yeah. But yeah, exciting things
Yeah.
to come. We'll see, and it's going to start, like you said, Kurt, by getting some interior defensive linemen too.
Yeah, and last thought on the D ends that we grab. Max, you point out that there is a type. You kind of, when that's the style you're recruiting to as well, like the coaches have done a good job of finding some of those guys, because you never know exactly how they're all going to fill out and develop, right? Like, because most of these guys that they grab need to put on a decent amount of weight and bulk up before they can actually see the field. But when you get as many of them as that's my dog. If you get as many of them as the Gophers have been able to find, it just gives you a better chance at hitting on them. So Yeah, they're doing a good job. Can't complain
Yeah.
at all. And dang it, I was gonna Google it and I completely forgot until just now. Does anyone know PJ Flex? I'm sure Chat GPT could tell us. But does anyone know PJ Flex highest ranked recruiting class he's had here at the Gophers? I think it was his like 2020 class or something. But I'm just curious. My question was going to be if you guys think he beats it, but I don't. Let me Google it really quick, and you guys keep talking.
I think so. I think especially in the light of NIL, I don't know. I just think that we're in the early days of it still, but I do think that PJ is doing a really good job of playing, the NIL cards in his favor. Um, and hopefully that continues. I know it's an ever changing thing, but I do think he is utilizing that and
All
it's
right,
working
here
out.
it is. All right, PJ Flex. So we're currently sitting with what I said, the 18th, or you said 18th.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 2018 class finished, depending where you looked, number 22 in the nation per 247 Sports, number 23 per ESPN. So we'll go with 22. That's his highest ever.
Yeah,
Do
he'll
you
beat
think?
it.
Because there's still some fish out there. Do you think he'll beat
He'll beat it.
that mark?
He'll
You
beat
think
it.
so?
I do.
You'd have to
I
land
hope
these
so.
two other top kids in Minnesota, probably. But
Right.
yeah. Max, what'd you say?
I just said I hope so, but yeah, I guess it would have to
Yeah,
depend on like who all else is out there that can, slingshot someone else ahead of us versus us. It's not like we can really go down, like the more recruits we get, but hopefully not.
right,
You get a commit
right.
that somehow tanks your so you get some clogger and now you're 20th.
That's gonna be a
Yeah.
new term we throw out a lot. I feel like.
I like that. I like
Yeah. My bet would be that he doesn't reach that number, but I still think it's going to be a great class. Just how it's shaping up with the amount of commits we have. I'd lock and change, but there's some news we're going to get to here where I just think with with the TV money that's coming in my mind, I feel like that's going to help you keep your class of commits because you have like a set money that you can give them and you can talk about that with them, right? It's not like you're dependent on like, hey, come here, then the NIL money is going to come in. Like you can show them that revenue that you're planning to give directly to them. So I think for teams like the Gophers who might find someone early and then have to fend off the other teams at late, if like once other teams start noticing them, I think that guarantee of just being able to have that money for them right there and right away is going to be a bonus. So I have high hopes for this class for the most part, sticking together. Now a lot can change, but yeah. And I think if you're in the top 30, 40, like it's a pretty dang good class. In my opinion, I've said this on prior shows, but I think like the distance between the 45th ranked class and the 20th ranked class is a lot smaller between the 20th and the 10th, a top 10 ranked class. Like that, it just once you're outside the top 15, I feel like the margins are a lot closer together when you go down to like the top 60 or so, like even that far. So, but yeah, I think it's shaping up to be pretty promising.
I agree. Yeah, sticking along those lines, fellas, on our first topic is one of the players that took an official visit that remains uncommitted is the number one player in our state of Minnesota for the class of 2026, and that is Roman Voss. Voss already has announced that his recruitment is down to two schools, your beloved Golden Gophers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's projected to play tight end at the next level. The athletic Jackson High School QB has gotten a lot of attention from the Gophers coaching staff, drawing multiple home visits, including one with nearly every coach on the staff. So, question for you both. Max, I'll head to you first. Does the class being viewed as a success hinge on landing Voss, and does all out press from the staff land him surprise you given his position and him not being the highest graded recruit we've had?
Yeah, I think I want to say it doesn't. I'll to the first question. Is it not successful if we don't land him? I would say no, because I think the rest of the class is that good. It would absolutely be disappointing, and it would suck to break the streak of losing the number one player in state unless he comes back in a year via the transfer portal. Um, so no, I don't think we need him for this class to be successful. However, I don't know. I don't know if I'm that surprised that they are doing this all out press just because he is a top player in the state. It's huge to kind of keep that streak going and even keep the top three players in state. 'Cause we already have the number two and number three, just to kind of keep building that culture of like we're going to build a border around the state. You're not going to poach our guys, and if they can say, he chose us over Alabama, that's a pretty good sales pitch for other kids, especially in the state of Minnesota. So I'm hoping that it works out, and I'm hoping maybe Coy Parrish, another small town kid, can maybe have some sway and persuade
Yeah.
another, because he's from Jackson County, which is way down southwest corner of the state. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And for what he's graded out, I wonder if the staff too just thinks he's higher than that, and that's why they're
That's a good
going
point.
all out.
Yeah, we've seen them behind previous guys. I think Mo following PJ to Western Michigan, and he really liked him, so he had him follow him to Minnesota. I'm pretty sure that's how Mo got here. So, yeah, that's a good point. The staff could be higher on him than what the composite score ranking is, which is, it's still good. Don't get me wrong; he's a 4-star, but it's just not as high as the linebacker that's here now, Kamaro. I always forget his name. Sorry, I think it's Emmanuel Kamaro. And then the last two guys have been, and obviously Coy was also uh, pretty high as well. But nonetheless, it's not going to depend on him coming here as being viewed as success, like I kind of talked about with the last topic of the current commits. But I think you're right, Max. I think it is a big thing to PJ in particular, like a pride thing the staff takes of locking down the state. And so I think almost the all outright push to land him. I mean, he's gotten a ton of home visits from the staff, a ton of attention, which rightfully so. Like he is projected to be a pretty good player. He's a number 12 overall athlete, I think, in all the country. Most project him to play tight end. So that's what we've been recruiting him as. That's what Alabama's been recruiting him as his tight end spot. So that's where he most likely projects. I think it's more. I'm not saying we don't need him because they clearly want him. I just think it's a little bit more on the side of like, I want to say pride. Pride's not the right word, but it's almost more of a win. Not that you just get a great player, but of you getting to advertise, right, all the top players staying home. I think that's where more of the stakes come in for this. Um, I think you can look at it a little further even and just examine the tight end room in general. All three tight ends that are expected to play this year are in their last year of eligibility. So, as far as maybe another sales pitch to add or just like projecting out, like if he comes here and if he's athletic enough, like, yeah, it's tough to come in and play tight end right away as a true freshman. But, if he comes in and is like your receiving threat from that spot, maybe that's what they see him as because he's big, but he's not super bulky yet. I mean, he's playing quarterback, so he's not like, a 270-pound tight end at this point. But yeah, basically I agree with what Max said. It's not gonna be deemed a failure if we don't get him, but it's just gonna be a pride thing and just a really good look for the school.
I agree with you both totally, but I think I'm going to go maybe a little deeper here with this take. I just think that, if you're able to land your top recruits in Minnesota, I think, because of the whole NIL, the playing field, maybe in a sense, at least for the Gophers, we've kind of, taken a step up because of the money that we can potentially give our athletes. But I think that if you have interest in your school from these young athletes, that's a positive thing because I think that that means that there's excitement around Gopher football, Gopher sports, going to the University of Minnesota as a student, I think that there is definitely some significance around that, having kids from Minnesota want to go to the University of Minnesota to play sports or just go to the school in general. that tells me that people are watching, people are excited about Gopher football, Gopher sports, and I think that that's a really important thing. Uh, Obviously, maintaining hometown recruits, like you both said, you just you got to do it. It's ideal, but it doesn't hinge on this class, being a good recruiting class or not. If he does decide to go elsewhere, but I'm more
I
looking at it as like people are excited in Minnesota. Kids are excited to be a
yeah,
Gopher and stay home.
I'm almost. I don't want to say it like I almost want just positionally the fourth ranked kid Pierce Peterson because he's projected to play linebacker and he's like point 0.5 away from his composite score for making him a 4-star. He might very well be a 4-star kid by the time his senior year of high school is done. I almost want him. I'll say just as much as Roman Voss, just because of his position. Now, I do think that Voss is such a good athlete that you know if the Gopher staff is high on the young tight end, in which by all reports they are, right? We have the Samson kid, Pierce Walsh, still there, of guys that are looking to get more playing time probably the year after this year. I would try Roman at a linebacker position, but I also really want the Pierce Peterson kid as well, just because of that positional need. Now I don't know. I don't think it hurts us either for those two, just that we've already taken 2 linebackers. But yeah, I mean the other kid's looking at Penn State and us, so Pierce Peterson that is, and I think Iowa State is also visiting this week. So um, yeah, I don't know. Just gut reaction to you guys. Yeah, I think Roman Voss is going to Bama this weekend for his official visit there. He's talked about he's got a really good relationship with DeBoer, just both being Midwest guys, which we have several Midwest guys on our staff. So I don't know how much advantage that is, but that's their bonding, at least. Gut reaction. It's signing day. Where does Roman Voss play in football next fall?
He's staying. He's gonna be a
Think
hometown,
so?
homegrown Gopher. Yeah, you go to Bama, and let's say you do end up being a star there. I think that's just another guy that's
You're just a guy.
listed. You're just one of the guys. But at
Here,
Minnesota, you are the
you're
guy.
the guy.
You are
That's
the
right.
guy. So, and I think that's important, and you get to stay home, and yeah, I think that there is something to be said about that.
And if he ends up being a stud and it's here, he has the potential to be the face of the team, like Cole.
Exactly. Hmm.
At Bama, even if you're the best tight end on their team, not many tight ends are the face of the team, unless you're Brock
No.
Bowers, right? Like someone like
Yeah.
that. But
Right. Yeah. I agree with Spence. I think he stays. I think it makes a lot of sense just because you kind of alluded to it, Kurt. The top 3 tight ends on the depth chart right now are all going to be out of eligibility next year. We've got no tight ends in the class of 26. I don't know that we had any either in the class of 25. Bama's got 2 4-stars in the class of 25. So, like you said, he's going to be just a guy. He could beat them out, obviously, but
not
he could show
not
up here
only
day
that.
one.
To add to your point, Max. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But for this next class that Roman Voss is in, Bama at the same time they are also hosting a 5-star tight end that according to the guy writing the Bama recruiting that they think they're going to land. And they have
Right.
another 4-star that's also going to be on the official visit. So if they're taking potentially 3 tight ends this class, I'm just saying, look
Right.
around, and it's not like we haven't developed tight ends. Brevin Spanford, he's playing in the NFL right now. Max Williams, I know he's going back a little further.
Yeah.
Cole Keefe, we've put guys out there. So
Right.
I'm with you guys. I think he's staying home. I think
Yeah.
he's a Gopher.
Yep.
Oh, another
It kind
thing.
of
I want to bring
feels-
this up. Go ahead, Max.
My last point. I guess last 2 points. For what it kind of feels like if you're between Minnesota and Alabama, just geographically, like those are 2 totally different landing spots. It feels like you would probably already be pretty much committed to Alabama at this point, because what is he going to learn? You know what I mean? Like, is he really going to change his mind showing up on campus in Tuscaloosa and go, oh, Alabama.
Well,
Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm assuming he's already been there, but for the official visits, they go all out and
Sure.
like spoil you and stuff. So it is what it is. And hey, some kids really do just want to get away. So,
Yeah.
uh,
True.
and there, I mean, how many times did we see it before we kind of got on the streak where the hometown kid kind of like kept the Gophers there as an option? You see it in basketball all the time, right?
All the
Sure.
time.
Gophers are
Yeah.
there. I'm going to Duke. Gophers are there. I'm going to Gonzaga. It
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah.
he might be one of those kids that just wants to get away, and more power to
Right.
him. You get to play college football wherever you want to play, or as long as they want
Yeah.
you. Uh,
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess my point is like it feels like he would have to show up and it would really have to be apparent that he's going to be like a key player, which just
Yeah.
doesn't seem probable. Whereas here, it's like, here you go. You
Yeah.
are going to be the guy. It's your spot to lose.
I'm almost I don't have this factually, but I'm almost positive he'd be the highest tight end recruit on the roster as soon as he committed. Like so,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and that's not everything as we've talked about, but yeah. The 2 points I was going to bring up is, I think Jackson Howard's a great example of building that relationship now. Even if they don't choose you, they get familiar with you. They know you really well. They don't like where they went. You're right there for them if they have second thoughts later on in their playing career. So the coaching staff is already doing a tremendous job in pretty much everything they can do, in my opinion. I don't think they could have recruited him much better because he had a lot of interest in offers. Iowa was in on him hard early on before he limited it down to 2. I believe it was Wisconsin and Michigan State as well. So he had a lot of options. Last thing, and probably the least relevant, but his dad posted a picture of him on his official visit in the Gopher uniform, like a day or so after the weekend was over, and it's since been deleted. So he wasn't saying anything, but I think his kid probably
He's
or
saying
Rowan probably
something.
had him taken down to like make sure he knew that he wasn't committing yet. But I don't think the dad would post that picture unless the visit went pretty well. Again, it's since been deleted, but I caught it in time. Don't worry, guys. I got you, listeners. So I think it looks good. I think one way or the other, I think he's going to commit to the Gophers, and if he doesn't, I think he ends up a Gopher at some point.
Nice. All right, transition to SEC. Whiny SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has been at the center of a heated debate about the future of college football playoff format. He's advocating for changes that could give the SEC more representation in an expanded playoff. The drama stems from the SEC's push for guaranteed spots, clashing with other conferences and sparking discussions about fairness, power dynamics, and the health of college football. Sankey went as far to hand out a 7-page document to the media showing their gauntlet schedule. So, fellas, Kurt, let's start with you here. Is Sankey right about the fact that the SEC strength justifies more playoff spots, or is this just a power grab?
It's him just being a bitch. I don't know how else to say it. I don't usually just come out and say stuff like that, but I don't even understand the argument that like strength of schedule doesn't matter anymore. Like one, they're only playing 8 conference games. 2, the data, the packet we pulled up here, that tweet that they sent out, they went back the last 10 years. It's like, well, NIL's really been in effect, the last 3? So like, why are we going back 10 years when nothing has changed the sport more? Like it's never been a more different, even landscape than it has been the last 2 to 3 years. So they're purposely flubbing the numbers to get, make it look stronger than it is. And Indiana went 10-2 and same with SMU, who would they go 11-2 or something like that? And they almost missed. And they almost put in 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3 Bama over them anyway. So like, how is the strength of schedule already not being taken into account? In my opinion, it already is. That's what that whole debate was. And so, I'm never going to feel bad for these teams that miss out, that didn't even go to their conference championship game and didn't win their conference. Like, and you had 3 losses. Like, you get no sympathy from me. Again, a side note, the way to fix all of this is to change the criteria and pick the most 16 deserving teams and not the 16 best teams, because you get all these arguments here on paper, like the SEC is trying to make. All their arguments come on paper now. They don't really care about what happens on the field anymore. So it's just ridiculous. And I don't like that's going to 16 teams, but yeah, it's another power grab move. It's the SEC complaining. It's Lane Kiffin pushing this. He's spending all this time tweeting, and while he's losing to, who did he lose to again at the end? Like Florida? Yeah, he was tweeting about how they deserved to be in the playoffs, and then went out and lost to Florida, who was a solid team. But let's not act like Florida was freaking, Penn State or something like that. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree completely, Kurt. I mean, the 16 most deserving teams is really, in my mind, like the only thing that makes sense. Like, that's why you play the games. If you win your games, then you deserve to be in. The 16 best teams is even better than what they're proposing, where it's just the SEC and maybe even Big Ten just get a slotted number of teams, because then it's that last team might not even be one of the 16 best teams. Not absolutely not one of the most deserving teams. Right. So I don't understand why they're why that would ever. I mean, I get why they would want it to be the case, but that should never happen. Where just because you play in a conference, you just automatically get a bid if you are in the top whatever. Because year in and year out, like those things change. So, and it's just unfair to the other team, like you said, an SMU or a non-Power 4 school that just has an unbelievable season. Like, why do they not deserve a shot?
Exactly. What happened in the playoffs to make us think one of the teams that deserve to be in didn't get in? I must have missed it. Everyone was complaining. All of SEC ESPN was complaining about Indiana, who played Notre Dame closer than Georgia did, score-wise. So, what are we doing here? I don't understand what team got so jobbed last year. They try and tell us it was Bama and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, had a really close quarter and a half against a Duke team with nobody left in the bowl game before pulling away, and then Bama lost to a very short-handed Michigan team. So I guess I'm missing the boat here on what team got jobbed. They didn't. So, and to pretend that the 8 conference schedule games in the SEC just wear them down so much that they can't perform. To me, then it's like, okay, your schedule is so tough that you're just not going to be a good enough team come playoff time. Is that the argument you want to go with? Because it doesn't make any sense. They're all whiners. They're all complainers.
Yeah, I don't really have much, I guess, to add on to that, but I think it's as simple as winning your games. Like, winning the national championship shouldn't be a consolation prize. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's football is hard. It's not easy. Frankly, luck has to be on your side. It's a game of inches. It sucks. You will lose, but you got to win your games. And if you're a once in a blue moon team like in Indiana that does only lose 2 games, 2 really good schools, I think that is a deserving team that deserves to be in the playoff to try and compete for a national championship. Whereas Bama, having 3 losses, what I don't know how you can justify, it was just such a hard schedule. We had to drop three games. Is that your mentality? Like, it's okay to lose. It's okay if we lose 3 games, we still have a shot. You got to go in and week out to win your games. That is an attitude that I think is built around losers. So
it is. Their whole thing is in the SEC. It just means more. Well, clearly it doesn't if you're valuing a participation trophy over what actually happened, which is that Ohio State blew all of you out of the water. Notre Dame blew all of you out of the water that they faced. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they just want to be able to get more teams to be like, well, look at, we all made it. It's like, they're all losers. It's all, Bama ran that show for so long that they just needed to claim to anything. And I think a lot of their brains bought into it, of the folks down there. And now they're just keeping it going of how, and I'm not saying they weren't at times the best conference in the league. or in the in all college football. They obviously were, but it's the times have changed. NIL has really leveled the playing field where it's not even down to conferences anymore. Really, it's the top schools are, for the large majority, the top schools in the sport right now. So just money wise, buying the talent, developing it. So, yeah, I mean, if they want the participation trophy, fine, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Couldn't they frame it that way? Like, Sankey, we're doing you a favor, buddy. Like, do you really want your fifth best team to get smoked every year in the playoffs? Like, isn't that just going to look bad? I understand you want them on national television in the
Yeah.
playoffs, but
Right.
it's going to be pretty embarrassing when your whatever teams that just made it because they had to put them in get smoked by SMU.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and
I
to go to the whole like tougher let's say yes, it is. It is a really good. Yes, they are one of the top two conferences in the country. Absolutely. Some years they're the best. Some years they're second best.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be harder to make the playoffs then? Like,
yeah, you would think there'd be more teams like pushing you out of your spot. It's not like, well, it's so tough. We're just going to take more teams
right?
from your conference. Like, no,
Because if you're in
you
the
got to
top
prove
three in
it.
the SEC, you're in. Like that's already going to happen. You
Automatic.
can earn
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And same for the Big Ten. Like it's if you just finish in the top three, possibly four, you already are essentially guaranteeing yourself a spot. So I don't know why we need to like dedicate however many spots they're saying to any conference.
I just thought it was weird, and people think it was like a mastermind move to get people to actually accept the what are they calling it? So there's the 4-4-2-2-1 model, and then there's the 5-11 model. And I think people are saying he created all this uproar over this to really be pushing the 5-by-11 at large bids to get even more like SEC teams in there. I don't know. I don't think. I just thought it was a weird move for them to make. To be honest, I don't see what they gained from it or what they have to gain from it. Did anyone sit down and be like, you know what? Yeah, like Ole Miss, Bama, LSU, they should be in there every year. Like, no, nobody wants to see that. This whole thing has been rearranged for TV. We want to see different teams get in there in those last spots that probably don't have a chance at making it. Like, just keep it the way it was. I thought last year did it perfectly. I don't care if
I
the opening
agree.
games were blowouts. That's what I wanted to see. Like, you wanted to see different teams in college football playoff. That's what we got.
Yeah.
On campus games. No complaints from me.
At the end of the day, the best teams are going to be on top. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not a consolation prize. Yeah, that's it. That's just all it is. But Kurt, you touched on it too. The 5-11 model, the 4-2-2 model. Do you think these models affect smaller conferences and fan interest, or what do you think about that? And what do you think? Do you like one of these models? Which one do you want to see going forward? Do you want to see something totally different? Max, tell me your thoughts.
Well, can you explain to my dumb brain what the 4-4-2-2-1 model even is?
So it would be 4 auto bids. The top 4 teams in the SEC and the Big Ten, ACC and Big 12 get 2, and the one is I think either Notre Dame or the highest non G5. Or would Notre Dame count in the ACC because they have that deal? I don't know. That's the thing I don't know about. But then there's one at large, or there's one for the group of 5, I should say. That's what the 4-2-2.
Yeah.
Then there's
4
only
Big Tens,
does
4
there need to be
SEC.
Right. Okay. So that's what it
there's
is. So
missing numbers.
there's no. It's 4, which is 8 plus the 2, just 12.
Yeah. Plus
Notre Dame. Yeah. What is it then? You know what? The rest must be.
I don't
auto
like that
bids.
one.
Or-
There's not enough teams.
I'm sorry. The rest must be at large bids,
At
with
large,
one going
okay.
to probably Notre Dame and one going to the group of 5, and then another that's just
Sure. And then the 5-11 is like the 5 top conference winners and 11.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like the 5-11 better.
Me too.
Yeah.
I just think take the top. Yeah, take the top
Although,
5. Keep the conference championship mattering, and
yeah,
then let the
I
11 most deserving teams fill in the rest.
I will say
I
the 4-4-2-2-1 model would help the Gophers drastically. Like if you just
yeah.
found a way to get to that fourth
Yeah,
spot finish,
Yeah.
like that
but I
that
don't
Selfishly,
want to
yes.
that
do
part's
that.
appealing. No, I
Selfishly,
think it's
yes.
terrible, but I think a lot of the aspects of the playoff
Yeah.
are terrible already. So I'm just saying I could be swayed into
Yeah.
that model. I just wanted this topic to be more about complaining
You,
about Greg Sankey and the SEC.
yeah. Here's what I think, fellas, and I'm kind of going into this different thought process. So you got your conference champions, right? I think that they need to have a number one bid or seed, sorry, by whatever
Yeah,
that looks like.
yeah.
Regardless, the conference championship deserves that, right? I think that the runner up gets an automatic bid too for making it there. I guess, just
From
for
every
being there.
conference, when do you stop it? Like the major
Well,
four?
here's you're right. It probably wouldn't work, but the reason why I'm saying that is because at least the regular season will matter. Because I feel like with Sankey, and I'm looking back at Sankey. I'm just thinking, all right, if we're just going to let all these SEC teams in because their gauntlet is so hard, the regular season to me, at least in the SEC, is just diminished. It doesn't really, I
Yeah,
mean, you have to win the games, but do you
I
remember
think
the
that's true for.
BCS era? If you
Yeah.
lost a game, it was over. It
Well,
was
that's the thing.
over.
That's the thing.
And that's the
People.
beauty of college football. We're
Yeah.
missing that.
No, I 100% agree with you. I would prefer that over this year's. And their counter argument is, well, Ohio State wouldn't even made the playoff in the 4-team playoff. I'm like, I know.
Right.
That's what makes that Michigan upset so great is that it
Right.
literally would have stolen a
Right.
national championship away from that team. Like I like that part. Like that's as important as the regular season can get. I never really bought into the regular season now more important for more teams like the further on you go. Like I guess that's true in one sense, but you lose the big dogs, I guess. The teams at the
Yeah.
top have the biggest safety net ever now. Like they basically
Yeah.
the top 10 teams skill wise and like that people are projecting into this playoff, they have like they can go about it almost like NFL teams and suffer a couple losses here and there. Where if like you're the Gophers, no one's expecting you to go perfect, but you have to play way more closer to perfect than Ohio State does, just
Oh yeah.
because like you're gonna have to overcome them already getting the benefit of those out of the law. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
because you can just pick the best teams, it's not going to be just a strictly standings seeding anymore. Like you got to
Right.
earn it. You have to be perfect. And if you do lose, which you're probably going to do, you have to make it look really, really good because it's going to be held against you. That's why Indiana almost missed the playoffs. So
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, transitioning a little bit here, kind of something that affects the scope of NCAA sports. The judge ruling on NCAA salary cap paying players. We all know what happened. But what does this mean for college football and our Golden Gophers? Max, start with you.
Well, I guess if it were to all work out perfectly, in a way, it's kind of nice that there is like a. For one, it's nice that there is a cap.
really quick, Max, we're going right back to you. I just want to explain in case the viewers don't know. The House settlement, the case was finally heard about revenue sharing, essentially. So, in basic man terms, there's now going to be a salary cap of revenue share that schools get, and it's going to be up to them, I believe, as to how they can use it per sport, per school. So, it's going to be roughly about 20.5 million of a salary cap for year one of the revenue share. And
For
I
all
think the
sports.
most you all sports, yes. And I think the most it sounds like you can put towards one sport is about 90%, I think is what they're getting at. So like it's projected for football that the most you can put is going to fall between 13 to 16 million. of that 20 in it 0.5. So schools have to opt into this. Every major school is going to opt into this. Okay, that was just wanted
Yeah.
to give a little background in case people missed that.
Yeah. No, thanks. That'll probably make it more clear. Yeah. No, I like the idea of the money can just come right from the school because everyone's NIL collective, it feels like, has its own rules, and it just felt very lawless. And I'm not like opposed to NIL. Like, I think players should still be able to go and do commercials and have sponsorships and do whatever they want to do. But it kind of feels like this maybe takes a little bit of the pay for play out of the NIL, and NIL can just be sponsorships, like that's not your
Supplementary.
quote unquote salary. That's your on the side money. And if you're going to get paid, the bulk of it's going to just come from your employer, quote unquote. Uh,
Yeah,
Now, the stipulations of that are our team's going to start unionizing. How much does this cap change? What does it mean for other sports? There's a lot of problems, but
I
2030
think that's
college
a
football lockout.
yeah. I agree with you, Max, in principle. I just think that's a very optimistic way to look at it. I left out a part of the settlement too, is that like I forgot the name of the company, but all NIL deals starting July 1st, I believe, are going to be vetted through this just to make sure they are legit. I used air quotes there in case you're just listening. I don't. Why I used air quotes is I don't know how legally you can say that this person isn't earning that money the right way. Like I don't get how you can legally restrict somebody. If we had somebody like I don't know, Best Buy here wanted to give Coy $1 million, basically pay for play. I'm not saying that's happening, but I don't, and they want to do that for the Gophers. Like, I don't know how someone legally can come in and be like, nope, like, Coy, that's not your actual work. I don't know how they're going to regulate that. So I think that part's going to get sued to oblivion. I'm not counting on this vetting of NIL. But to your point, I think that now that the schools can pay, it kind of gives them more ammo of, more leverage on their top players, right? Because like if you're a Minnesota and you're worried about someone like Coy or Darius Taylor being poached, you can now. There's no like per player cap out of this salary cap. If you need to put, I don't know, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but if you need to put $3 million on Coy just to keep him from being poached of your thing, then the coach can be like, okay, boom, we're moving this here now because we need it out of the salary cap, the amount of money we have. Hopefully, NIL can make up for the rest of the money we need to keep some of the deeper roster guys. So NIL is definitely still going to be a part, but I just think that it's interesting. I've seen some people say it's the opposite, where this hurts teams like the Gophers. Looking at you, Jr. Oh no, I think his show's on right now, so he's probably not watching. But I actually think it helps the Gophers just for that fact that the coaches now have a greater command of the money. Not that they weren't influencing where it went already with Dinkytown athletes, but I think now that it's run in house, they can like guarantee that those guys get matched up with what they, would be tempted to leave for elsewhere. So I think it overall for the Gophers, I think it helps. And when you have a smaller fan base, comparing us to say like, USC, Alabama, like nationwide fans, it just puts less of the pressure on the fans to pay for literally everything. But don't get me wrong, NIL is still going to be a huge part of it going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have much to add. I think that it's great. Teams can kind of just coaches have more command, like you said, Kurt, of where the money goes, who can they keep. Maybe somebody like Bucky Irving, maybe we could have held him, with the
That's gonna
Gophers.
be the thorn in Gophers'
Right.
side for years.
Yeah.
It's PJ's rallying cry. It literally launched Dinkytown athletes. Bucky
Yeah.
Irving might deserve a statue with the amount of talent we're able to
Yeah.
keep at this point. So,
Right.
what's interesting to see with this money, Spencer, I totally cut you off again. I'm sorry about
That's
that.
right.
But is how much of this is going to be able to lure potentially bigger recruits out of the portal, or is it going to be like more focus for Minnesota? Okay, again, we're going to have to keep recruiting, developing, and using most of our money to maintain that. or are we going to be able to go out and snag like a $2 million player every once in a while now, like it'll be interesting to see. And that's probably going to change year to year. If we're expected to have a down year, but we can go out and pay a couple guys in the portal because people aren't, thinking of guys that on our team that people like outside teams maybe wouldn't know about, like, oh man, like a Greg Johnson or, Mason Carrier, like young guys that aren't going to get poached yet. And so you don't have to maybe pay them as much. And then you can forward that money to go get more help out of the portal. I'm just curious to see how that all plays out. And, yeah, you basically need a GM for sure football, probably a couple of sports if you're in the athletic department. So this is on the you now to get this right. They've been saying that they're going to put the maximum amount of money forward that you can towards basketball and football. They need to do that because if you don't, you're already behind and you'll never catch up if you don't decide to put the maximum effort forward. Who was it? We talked about this. It's been a few shows now, but one school was making cuts within their actual like athletic department. There's less spots, but they're freeing up money to go towards their actual athletes and athletic department. So, just saying, the University of Minnesota has the biggest like administrative staff out of anyone in the Big Ten. That not just athletic department, but they have like, I think it's tens of thousands, like 20,000, just like staff employees that don't teach, like non-professors. So I don't want anyone to lose their job. I'm just saying, I'm ready to make the move to get done what needs to be done to win it all.
Right.
Agreed.
Here's a dumb question. When does this start? Is this season or is this next year?
Okay.
And that's a totally different answer depending on the sport, right? Like,
right. I think that's this year. Yeah, I'm almost positive that gets rolled out this year.
So they got to figure that out quick, huh?
Like, yeah, I think it's gonna. I don't think anyone's expecting this to just be a one fix and it works perfectly. I think they're putting it out there. It's going to be a crap show for a few years, and then they're going to try and make adjustments.
Right.
The other question I know this is early, but like, let's say you don't, and I don't know why you don't use all that money. Does it carry over, or is it just dead money?
No, you're using. So they just get to use up to that amount of their revenue share, is how I understand it. And so basically, if you're a school that says we're not going up that high, that means they're using it to in-house for their own in-house funds and not towards the athletes. Now, like people say, like, oh, like selfish schools. I mean, kind of. I mean, they could be, but also like these kids are about to get paid. Like, holy crap! Like this is $16 million. I mean, how many players on at least the Gophers are actually going to be making like, or should be making like millions of dollars? Not many. Like,
no,
for what value they're bringing in.
You make 100,000, heck, 10,000. I mean, like, fellas, to all you listeners, we grew up in an era where we couldn't have gotten paid regardless if we were great athletes or not. But like, getting paid $10,000 just to play football would be amazing, but we're talking millions potentially.
Well, when Dinkytown athletes rolled out and you were a Dinkytown sponsored athlete, this is just rumor. I don't have inside info for sure. I thought the minimum, like even low on the depth chart, players were getting was $25K, and that was for before anything. Now, and that's with free school, by the way. So that $25K is going a long way. Now you're bringing in millions, and Dinkytown athletes is continuing to do well. So keep drinking that Duck beer, folks. Get the coffee. What else did they got? Yeah. So it's all going to be needed. It's crazy the amount of money we're getting thrown around. In a perfect world, Max, I keep going back to the NIL thing. I hope it does become a thing where they can be like, it's an actual, like, this guy's got a big brand. And that's how he earns his money. Like, he's a really important piece in the state. So, like I said, Best Buy gives Coy, a commission on the amount of TVs that he does a commercial with that sell or something like that. Like, but I just don't know how legally they can tell if a booster from Miami wants to give a kid $2 million to go there straight out of high school, I don't know how legally they can say like, nope, sorry. Like unless I think
Well,
you hinted at like collective bargaining agreement, like then that could get worked in, right? If there's like you basically become NFL junior where you're agreeing to like owners can't pay sponsors to give like Tom Brady a side deal, or they're not supposed to, right?
right.
Like owners
Yeah,
can't
like you
arrange
can't
in it side stuff.
tamper. Yeah, like
Right.
you can't like, oh, we hit the cap, but like now we can't spend any more money, but then
You can't
the
funnel money through.
son-in-law of the treasurer of the
Yeah.
department of whatever just happened to
Right.
donate $5 million to Diggytown athletes.
Right.
Like that should raise red flags. And I don't know what, because yeah,
Yeah.
Deloitte is the company that's like auditing all this stuff. And I don't even know if it's technically for that or if it's for more of like making sure that these offers these players are getting are legit, because we've heard a lot of those horror stories of the kid that
That's
went to
true.
UNLV. Like, is that what they're
Yeah.
trying to eliminate? So that when the kid says, "Where's my money?" and the school says, "What money?"
You're right.
No, that doesn't
Right.
happen. I have no idea.
Hey, for that point, I hope you're right. I hope it works out that way. I just have my my doubts, I guess, is what I'm trying to say about how that's all going to
Yeah.
work out. But I saw like people like Oregon, like I saw Oregon fans that weren't happy about that part of it because, I mean, let's face it, Phil Knight's been basically just
yeah.
writing checks to players to just
Yeah.
get over there. So
Right.
I don't know. Like, I'm not against players making money, but it becomes stupid when teams with the biggest checkbook just get the players because the checkbook.
Right.
Like, it'd be
And
nice.
that's why on paper this seems like it should be better. Now,
Yeah.
whether it works or not, totally, and yeah, it's gonna change every year, I'm sure. And what suck? Well, are we gonna see some interesting situations where like basketball coaches and football coaches have to like fight to like, no, my guy gets the last 500,000. Like, you know what I mean? I got to imagine
Yeah,
football and basketball
I
is
don't
gonna have
know.
a slotted amount, and everyone else just gets what's left.
Well, I don't think any other sport for most schools brings in money to the school other than
Right.
men's basketball and football. That's just the way it works.
You're
There's
telling me the
some.
swim
Well, there
team
are
isn't-
some. Like Gopher hockey is profitable to the U. It doesn't make as much money as basketball when people actually go to the games, and it definitely doesn't make as much as football. But
Right.
like, so there are the schools with the odd off there, and as a Gopher hockey fan, I would like us to get enough money in there to still use it as advantage at hockey. But I don't think that's going to be a priority for Mark Coyle.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the coaches, it's gonna happen, right? Like
It's gonna
a
be like-
basketball school, it's gonna be like, I just made it to the Final Four, and we're given like a Vandy, but we're given an extra mil to some quarterback at Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be ticked. Like whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a wild time. I'm not sure how this
It
is
is.
all shake out.
That
But if you
and
hit that
the
subscribe
player-
button, folks, I promise you that SkyU Pod will do the best to its ability to keep these Gophers home.
Yeah. I also want to know if these player, I have to call it salaries, chunks of cash.
It's a
Like,
salary.
is that public? Do we all get to know that?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Does it depend on the school? Because if you're a public school, you can see all the revenue information now. But
Yeah, that's a good point. Probably. I mean, there's
That'd
still
be-
like Northwestern won't have to tell, right? But they're
true.
private. So
Yeah. Well, fellas, let's transition to our final topic of the night. Mike Grimm and PJ Fleck on his Go Gophers podcast, and shocker, Coy Parrish came up as part of the conversation. The usage of Coy has brought up a lot of discussion and speculation in the next season. PJ basically confirmed that using Coy on offense is not just a gadget thing. He's got several packages and will be baked into the offense. Fellas, does this change any of your previous thoughts on Coy getting used offensively? And what are your thoughts in general?
go ahead.
I'll just say for me,
go ahead.
It
Go ahead,
doesn't
Spencer.
change-
You start. You've been dishing it
Yeah.
out. Go ahead. You say your thoughts.
It doesn't change for me whatsoever. And my previous thought was I don't really want to see him on offense because he's so good defensively. Why risk him getting hurt? And additionally, we have all this talent we think that's going to be on offense. We're just going to roll him into playing, taking one of these positions here and there. It just doesn't seem great to me or well thought out. Sure, it's exciting. I get it. This guy's like, a gadget, right? He's like a Swiss Army knife. But if we really dig into it and think about it, I don't really care for it that much.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change my opinion from before, but he better be that much better than
Right.
the third wide
Right.
receiver. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what I'm
it
saying.
better
Comes
work.
out and just goes out for a bomb and just, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Or
like obviously if
runs
it
the
works, we're
ball.
all gonna be
Yeah.
happy about it. But just
I
I
just
do
can't
worry about
picture him
them
being a
forcing it.
better running back than Darius Taylor, than AJ Turner. I can't picture him being a better receiver than Loyola. Uh, uh, I'm blanking on the other transfer from the MAC
Tracy.
team. Tracy, thank you. Is he gonna?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And they're saying it's not gimmicky, so I gotta imagine there's like a full on offensive package that Coy is out there. You know what I would be rather see it at this point is like I want him to be the jet sweep guy. Then that's what I want to see. Is him just running jet sweep like we used KJ May against Iowa? Bring it back, by the way. Like the jet sweep. I don't know if we've ran it since running that, like beating down Iowa, which 2014, whatever it was. Anyway, like it better be like there's 3 tight ends and Coy's in there, and we're just trying to, almost like a wildcat type thing. Like that's with how much they're building up. I feel like that's how it should be. Or if he is like your 5th best receiver and guys need a breather, then sure, throw him out there. Just to me, I don't know. It just does not get me excited that he's going to be out there on offense. And I love Coy. He's like my 2nd favorite player on this team right now, behind Anthony Smith. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time picturing it being super effective. That he's doing other things so much better than the other guys we already have at that spot that it's like, yep. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's Travis Hunter. I hope he wins the Heisman. We're going to the college football playoff. We're going to obliterate, I don't know, Oregon in the conference championship game and go to the college football playoff. I hope it all works out for us. And it feels we got to have somebody else on this show at some point because I think we're the only 3 that have this opinion as far as that have put it out into the, the internet, because all the other Gopher friends are pumped. Spencer, you're on campus at the U quite a bit, and you've seen the split jersey, so people are excited for Coy. I'm excited to see Coy play football. I'm just having a tough time overall picturing how it's all going to mesh with him playing some real offensive snaps because PJ said it's not a gimmick thing, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think to summarize it, it's like it's a bigger concern for the rest of the wide receiver room if we need to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not against like Coy.
He's a super protection. Freak athlete, but he's not even really like an I'm not saying athletic. He's not even really like a receiver though. Like that's not his.
He's not
a style
he's
of
not
play.
Built like he's not. Yeah.
Like you said, Kurt, like just get the ball in his hands, but like he's not going to be running like routes.
Yeah, crispy route. Right? Is he also like a great route runner? Like that's what I'm having a hard time believing, especially when there's literally 6 guys in that receiver room that we've heard the coaches keep pumping up to us, and I know not to take their word for that at this point. I'm just I want to see those guys. Like a guy like Nuke Hayes, who stuck it out and is here in the portal, who PJ has said is that one of their most explosive guys with the ball in his hand. Maybe that guy should be getting some of these looks that we're using Coy for, apparently. Like, I don't know.
Nuke Hayes play defense?
No. Yeah. That's the thing. But I'm for using Coy on every single snap on defense. Use him for every kick return, punt return. And yeah, if it's a play here and there, go for it. But if it's more than that, it's like, really? But hey, they say he's a unicorn. He is a tremendous athlete. Coy, I love you. Well, that's weird. I really like watching you play football, and
Oh,
yeah.
All right, fellas, anything else that you want to discuss?
Yeah, I do. I got one other thing from that was discussed on that podcast. I want to get your thoughts. So, they talked on that podcast when they first got into what the coaches are up to and like downtime, yada yada yada, small talk. They brought up Danny Collins, a new defensive coordinator. I thought it was pretty revealing. I'm going to butcher the exact quote. I think. Wait, I might have it here on my phone. He's talking about Danny Collins and how basically, this is Fleck talking about Danny Collins and how he really wanted the job last year when they hired Corey Heatherman, and he was pretty disappointed. But there's just PJ didn't go into specifics, but there's just a few things, whether game planning or how to coach something that he just wanted Danny to be a little bit better at before handing him over the reins. Then Heatherman did a great job, and he talked about how um, Danny Collins told PJ after he got hired this time around that he felt lucky that they brought in Corey because of the new style and the things he learned from Corey Heatherman, because he had spent all of his previous time under Rossi, right? So and then he brought in Corey Heatherman last year, and he said basically he learned added 3 new bullets to his chamber, essentially, as far as things he can call on the defensive side of the ball. And so my question to you guys is, do you think that is a good enough giveaway answer of what style of defense we're going to see now, as opposed to more of the Rossi style or Heatherman style going into this year? Because to me, I feel like PJ was letting us know that it's going to look a lot more like how it did under Corey Heatherman than it did to opposed to Joe Rossi, which for me personally makes me happy. But I just want to know if you guys think I'm reading too much into a PJ quote, which it's very easy to do. But
I think that you're exactly right, Kurt. I think that it's going to look more like Corey Heatherman's because per PJ, what he was saying, or, what Danny Collins is saying is his arsenal kind of grew in terms of thoughts or, designs and schemes of what he can do, which is a good thing because I did think that although the Joe Rossi defenses were great, it was a little stale sometimes, the lack
yeah,
of blitzing, the lack of really rushing the passer.
PJ alluded to that this
Yeah,
defense needed something new because they weren't.
yeah,
Teams just had a really good read on them in that. What would have happened? The 2023 season, he felt the defense needed something to spice it up, and in
right.
came Heatherman, and so yeah,
Yeah. I do think too though that maybe Danny Collins will just have a sprinkle of his touch in there too. What that looks
oh,
like,
I'm
I don't
sure,
know. But I
yeah.
hope that it is something that is more exciting, that isn't super stale, that is
I
more
want to
akin
blitz.
to Corey
I
Heatherman.
like the blitz.
Right. I
It's
agree.
it's funny too. I was listening to what's his name? He's like a main Spartan fans would know him. He's like one of the main like Michigan State football people, but he was on the Eyes on Big Ten podcast with Jeffrey the Greek. I'm saying all their Twitter names, but anyway, on that, it's funny because they talked about the defense for this upcoming year, and they were talking about his worries about the defense, and all the worries were things that we kind of always had under Rossi here. He talked about not sure if we have the athletes yet at the linebacker room. Hopefully, we're better at getting them to cover the pass, which I felt like that was always a weak point of the Rossi defense was the linebackers' ability to cover the pass plays. And then he also said being able to get off the passer. He didn't blame Rossi, but he said he blamed their personnel. And that's how I felt like I liked Rossi as well. And I was really worried when he left until I saw what Heatherman did. But Rossi is dependent on having talented pass rushers because he likes to sit back in that cushion and keep everything in front of them. So, like you were saying, Spencer, I think a lot of teams kind of got used and knew exactly what they're going to see out of our scheme. And they're just, when we didn't have the guys to get home every time, you kind of need to do something else to make, some pressures happen and force some turnover. So, personally, I like the Heatherman style more. And I think Danny Collins, he's gonna have his options of what to pull from each coordinator that he learned from. So I'm excited for the defense, and the more I hear about it, the less worries I have about Danny Collins going forward. Now I could be way off on that, as he's never called defenses, but I'm feeling good.
yeah. No, like you said, Spence. I'm sure he'll put his own little flavor on it, but I mean, if you're just comparing what styles are most effective, it was only 1 year of Heatherman, but it was such an immediate turnaround from what we were, and both in the
Yep.
run defense and pass defense and explosive play deep. Like we didn't give up big plays that often either,
Yeah.
on the ground or through the air. So if you're looking at it that way and trying to make an analytical decision, you're gonna go with the one that was most effective, right? Like, and
I
then
think so.
improve even the things that you can improve on. So
Yeah, I mean, how many times under Rossi did we see like 3 safeties on the field? Not much, right? And now here with Heatherman, it was just like, well, these guys are our best D backs and really our best players. So let's find ways to get them on the field as much as possible. And they do some twists up front, bring guys up late, and just change the look. And it just worked out really, really well because every one of those D backs were put in a position to do basically what their skill set matched up with really well. And you had really good results. And when you got 3 stud safeties that are all in your top 11 defensive players in Aiden Gooseby, Kerry Brown, Coy, like you're going to want them all 3 on the field as much as possible. And so I think that leans more to Coy being up and around the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, fellas, that'll do it for yet another episode of Sky U Pod. And thank you all for tuning in to yet another off-season episode. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, X, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We encourage you to check out our partners' website at the college football or thecollegehuddle.com for many more college football podcasts. And thanks as always for tuning in. Please like and subscribe the video, and we'll see you next time. Go